one-of-a-kind art project in the form of a collab never heard of. Of course, I want to be a part of it. Of course, I want to be a part of this. A man locked down, away from his tools, can't use his nose, and still pushes forward for something unique. Subscribe and let's go for this one. Ensar is making this really easy for me. His depth, vulnerability, and openness in these questions. Easy for me. I'm just asking basic questions, and we are just getting a plethora of insight. Want to be perfumers who are getting into the craft, people that want to go deeper into the olfactory, people in the arts, any art, connect to these words. So powerful. So many lessons in that last video. I can't believe, just sentence after sentence, I'm just like, yeah. Here, some profound stuff is said. Just amazing stuff. Of course, we're going to focus on Homeros in this video. What are the other notes that go into Homeros? Most of my subscribers, you know exactly where I'm going to go if I'm going to ask questions on this. What are the special materials going to be for Homeros? So, I mean, it's Ensar Oud. His collection of materials is, I mean, a dream for most of us. Anybody doing perfume, you would love to walk into an atelier and have access to a toolbox. Like, that's the Disneyland of toolboxes. So, I mean, my brain just vibrates thinking of all of the possibilities that are there. And yet the constraint he shows in his vision, you'll see in a second, is amazing. And then I asked him to elaborate on the big idea of opening himself up to a collaboration of this magnitude. I really wanted to hear about, there's some danger into that. There's some risk into that. I wanted to hear his thoughts on that. So this video, all about Homeros, Ensar Oud.
To make, I had to really think and reflect what kind of materials I wanted to feature here. And the way I did it is this way. I wanted something very satisfying, intrinsically filling, intrinsically fulfilling for the soul. Something that is not mysterious with the mystery and awe of oud, but rather the call of longing and yearning. And so the question that came to mind is, how do we engineer longing in scent, in a perfume? How do we do that? And naturally, I couldn't help but, point to the strongest feeling of longing that is experienced by anyone, which is the feeling of procreation. So that longing for one's mate, the longing for sex. And the best and the most epic expression of that in anything olfactory is in the pod of the musk deer, in the gland that is harvested from Muscus mossiferus, which is the Himalayan musk deer. So how do we take this sexual longing, this phenomenal longing, this beautiful call, to nature and to one's mate through these pheromones, and how do we convert that into a longing for one's home, which is what Odysseus felt, the longing to go home to Ithaca. I did that by taking musk and civet and pairing them with edible substances, things that one would get to eat when at home, right, under one's own roof, at one's own dinner table. So I put strawberry and raspberry, apricot, mandarin, orange, chocolate. These are some of the most wonderful culinary ingredients in perfumery. And pairing these with musk and the sensual pheromonal substances like civet, and also the pheromones in flowers, which are another reproductive call, which is this longing for also pollination and calling out the bees. So we featured some of the most precious flowers, starting with orange blossom, of course, and then osmanthus is featured, in addition to narcissus, which is one of the most amazing floral ingredients, and lavender and other edible materials. So it does sound like I went in the direction of a culinary perfume, but I was very careful to avoid making it a culinary perfume in the way that I paired the ingredients. And I wanted it, above all else, to be a happy perfume. This is a very hopeful, very positive, very optimistic, very determined type of longing. The man will return home no matter what, which is what Odysseus ultimately does accomplish. He goes home to Ithaca and Penelope. And this is in parallel with another line that runs through Homeros, which was inspired by Beethoven and his Ninth Symphony. As some of you obviously are aware of, Beethoven was stone deaf when he composed the Ninth Symphony. He couldn't hear a thing. And he goes and he composes, paradoxically, what he calls an ode to joy. You would imagine someone who is deaf to have some sadness or to feel sorry about losing his hearing, and especially about the fact that he can't even listen to his own music. To me, that's like something like mind-boggling. How do you compose the Ninth Symphony, and how do you make it so joyful? How is it an ode to joy itself when the guy can't even hear it? So that's something that has really stymied me as long as I've known about it. Think about it. He composed what went on to become the greatest piece of music in history. There is no piece of music that is more famous than the Ninth Symphony, ever. And it is composed by a deaf man who never, ever got to listen to it. To me, it's insane. It's beyond. So Homeros is the same thing here, except that I don't lay claim to it being the greatest piece of music, obviously, right? But I couldn't smell what I was putting together. It is the work of an anosmic perfumer, which is also the groundwork for our collab in the time of separation, is why don't you smell it for me and tell me what it is all about? Because I can't. How do we make it one where the perfumer cannot smell his work and he longs to go home, okay? But it is a happy perfume at the same time. That was the main driving concept here, that this is not a perfume of sadness. Many people remarked that they wish it was more somber, that it was more serious, that it is more smoky, that it is more oody, that it is more dark, like the EO number 1, for example, or my other works. I made it a point, and I went out of my way to make Homeros as happy as possible. I wanted this to be the happiest perfume that anyone has ever smelled, because exactly at the time of deprivation is when optimism and determination and courage should be at their highest, and we should never be cut off. So the determination to persevere and to go home and to make a way and to find a way and to swim there if one has to, that's the path of Odysseus. And that is what is celebrated in Homeros, as Beethoven himself, a stone-deaf genius, couldn't listen to his own music. And so with that said, I focused the perfume around the bitter orange tree, and its wondrous, wondrous extracts. It is one of the most greatest gifts that has been given to the perfumer, because it produces an essence from every single part of the tree. You can make petitgrain from the leaves. You have neroli if the flowers are steam distilled. You have orange blossom absolute if they're extracted with hexane and ethanol. You have obviously the rind, the proper orange essence. And so these things have very strong antidepressant and mood-lifting properties. Orange is used in aromatherapy to fight depression, to lift up the spirits, to imbue a blend with happiness-inducing molecules, which is what we have here. So that is the answer to, why I chose these substances as opposed to other substances, and what are some of the substances that we feature. Orange blossom is the central focal point of this perfume, paired with musk, paired with the edibles to engineer that feeling of homesickness and longing for home, and obviously civet, as well as a few other things which we'll get into in due course.
Again, I want to thank Ensar for taking the time to answer these questions, to open himself up. We'll try to get your questions. If you have them, post them. Some people are DMing me. I'm putting them together so it's an easy format to do it in. You can kind of see the tone. We have a couple things lined up that you will not believe. Well, you will. If you've been following me from day one, to get to this pinnacle and meet this guy whose life mission is oud, we're gonna we're gonna do some stuff here. We're gonna talk about oud, what oud should be, and very cool stuff coming up. That's no hype. I mean, I'm literally wanting to jump out of myself for the stuff we have the possibility of presenting as thought, important thought. A lot of it was presented in that last video. I mean, it's something, every time I listen to it, I'm picking up more wisdom from it. That's simple words, but a lot of wisdom. And that's makers who spend their lives every day at perfecting their own craft in their field. That's how it is when you talk to them. That's how it is when you read their autobiographies. It's just their words. Every word means something. They don't waste words. They don't mince with time. They don't just talk. If you can get them confined to talk, it's so much wisdom, because it's just coming from a place of honing in on their craft like nobody else in the world. He's really honed in on what he's done. It's amazing to be part of it. All right. Brandon with Therapeutic Fragrance. Excited to be able to do this. Humbled, still very humbled to be able to do this. Thank you, Ensar, and your team for providing these videos and just working out this format. This format is a collab. This format is new. It's never something we never would have dreamed of. We're forced into it, and it's just, we're going to make it work because important things are being said. You and yours be safe. Love you. Be blessed.